As promised, we're here on Chicago Bears Now to take a look at some Drew Dalman replacements as the Bears need a starting center. We're going to do that here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. If you're excited for NFL free agency, hit that like button. We're going to be live a bunch next week, starting on Monday. Of course, we'll have our normal Thursday live show, potentially Sunday as well, so stay tuned for that. But free agency is almost here, and if you're fired up, like the video, and let's dive in. All right, so Drew Dalman has walked away. We've had about a day to digest this news now, and obviously Chicago needs to fill that void. They have a left tackle need and a center need along their offensive line. I don't think it's something to panic about. You have two really good guards. You have a really good right tackle, but obviously Drew Dalman was a key piece on that interior. Now, as far as who could replace him, there's really only one guy on the roster that, if you played a game tomorrow, could conceivably play center. That is Luke Newman. Ryan Bates is a free agent. I think his career is probably over. I don't expect the Bears to bring him back. I'm not sure he'll keep playing, period. Luke Newman, who they drafted in the 6th round last year out of Michigan State, saw brief time at guard. I thought actually played pretty well. I'm not sure where the Bears feel he is as a developmental center guy. I would say it's a long shot, if any chance at all, that he'll be the starting center next year. I do not expect that to be the case. It's already been reported that the Bears would prefer to find a veteran to fill that void, to try and keep as much continuity there at that position that you had this past season. Okay, let's take a look at some free agents here. Tyler Linderbaum is obviously the big name. It's been circulating. A lot of teams are going to be interested, and it's going to cost a lot. This would certainly be an all-in type of move because he would be an upgrade over Drew Dalman. He's probably the one guy available that would be a clear upgrade in terms of what you had and what you would get moving forward, but you'd also have to pay for that upgrade, right? Drew Dalman was making $14 million per year. It sounds like on the low end, it's going to be $20 million per year for Tyler Linderbaum, which is obviously a lot of money. Now, Albert Breer quote tweeted the news of Drew Dalman retiring yesterday and said the Bears have sniffed around Tyler Linderbaum, and now that makes sense. Good player, really good in the run game, good at the line of scrimmage. He's not great in pass pro. He's a smaller center. He's like 6'2", 305. He does get driven back some in pass pro. But if the Bears, who ran the 3rd most outside zone last season, are going to keep doing that in their run game, Linderbaum is excellent because he's very athletic. You can get him out on the move. I like him a lot. I don't like him at $20 million per year. I don't really like any center at $20 million per year. I think for years the Bears undervalued the position. I think this would almost be overvaluing it. Now, look, I've said it. I'll say it again. If they end up with Tyler Linderbaum, I'm not going to complain because that means you're continuing to invest in your offensive line. But I think you can do that without breaking the bank for a center when you already have 2 high-paid guards and a tackle in Darnell Wright, who you're about to pay a lot of money to. So I would not personally go in this direction if it's $20+ million. Maybe if it's a little bit less, if it's 16, 17, 18, okay. But, 5 for 110, I don't know. That feels like a penny too high for my liking. Would you give Tyler Linderbaum $20+ million per year? Maybe you disagree with me. Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would prefer not to, but that's just me. Okay, let's talk about Tyler Biadasz. This is a guy that I am interested in. Now, he's been banged up at times, so obviously as a part of his visit, the Bears will do a medical check. But he was released by the Commanders in February, which I thought was a bit of a surprise release, and maybe it could be medically related. That's why you bring a guy like this in for a visit, which Ian Rappaport reported yesterday that the Bears are bringing him in. Now, I don't know if or when this has taken place. I assume it is, but could it have already happened, or is it happening later this week? I'm not sure. I haven't seen further clarification on that, if they have already brought him in. This meeting would largely be, a medical checkup, see where he's at physically and mentally, and, if you like how it goes, maybe start negotiating a contract, because since he was released, he's eligible to sign with the team immediately. You don't have to wait until free agency opens to sign guys who have been cut by other teams. Tyler Biadasz is a solid player. Graded out pretty well per PFF last year. I actually think he's a slight upgrade over Drew Dalman as a pass protector. Now, Run game not as good. Probably not as suited for a wide zone scheme, but I think he can handle it. He does make checks at the line of scrimmage, so from the pre-snap stuff, he can help out Caleb Williams in that regard. The reason I like this idea is, A, you're not going to break the bank. I think if I had to guess $8-9 million per year, maybe it gets up to 10. Maybe it's like 2 for 20, and the guarantees are like 11-12 million bucks. We'll see what his market is. But you don't have to do what you'd have to do with Tyler Linderbaum, which is reset the market. And this is a guy, 6-year starter. He's been to a Pro Bowl. He's played in good offenses. Dallas, they always had good offenses. First year in Washington was the year Jaden Daniels had, which was awesome, obviously. And with a guy like this, since he was cut, when you sign guys that were cut by other teams, it does not factor into the comp pick formula for free agency. So if the Bears have more money exiting with free agency than bringing in, you could get comp picks in the next draft. This guy doesn't factor in, so you don't have to factor that into potentially signing him. Whereas if you give Tyler Linderbaum a huge contract, I understand why teams will do it. You're probably not going to come out ahead of that moving forward in terms of potentially getting draft compensation. Okay, Connor McGovern is next up here, free agent with the Buffalo Bills, who wants to stay in Buffalo, but sounds like the Bills aren't going to bring him back. This was via The Athletic. Connor McGovern had a couple of quotes in this article and said, "They haven't contacted me once," talking about the Bills, "and my gut, that says it's over and done. I'm never going to take it personally. I want to be back in Buffalo. Do I need all the money in the world? No, but there was a respect factor involved too." He later said he'd take a hometown discount, but still hasn't heard back from them. So to me, that sounds like they're not going to bring him back, which means he'll hit the open market and be free to sign elsewhere. Now, what's he going to cost? I don't really know in terms of free agency. The Linderbaum domino probably falls first, unless it is a guy like Biadasz signing before free agency opening. But Connor McGovern is a good player. Bigger center in terms of his size. He's 6'5", kind of reminds me of a Frank Ragnow build up in Detroit that Ben Johnson had. Better in pass pro than Dalman, worse in run blocking, similar to Biadasz in that regard. Did not give up a sack at all last year, only had 5 penalties. I think he probably fetches a little bit more than Biadasz. Like, I could see Biadasz being 8 to 10 and McGovern 10 to 12. So we'll see what a contract looks like. I think I saw one projection for him, like 2 for 22, $11 million per year, which, again, I mean, you save $10 million with Dalman retiring. So if you spend between 8 and 11, 8 and 12, that pretty much comes out the same. So that wouldn't be a total loss for the Chicago Bears if that's how it ends up playing out. All right, more sitters to look at in free agency, and then we'll take a look at some draft guys as well. But shoot your shot with PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting, so don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Football might be over, but I'm just getting started on PrizePicks as you got daily hoops action, baseball's around the corner, and you've got soccer, hockey, season-long football projections. You can cross over your sports in your lineup. Just take more or less on the stat projections available, and if you hit, you win money. 3-player lineup I like for season-long football projections here. I took more on Myles Garrett's 13.75 sacks. He has 14 or more in 5 straight years. I love the more on both these Bears ones. Caleb Williams passing yards and Colston Loveland receiving touchdowns. $20 lineup to win $100 in this 3-player lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Get started today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Okay, get to a couple lesser names here. Ethan Pocic, who actually played decently well for Cleveland last year, graded out above average overall. A 60 is kind of an average grade, so a little above average for the Browns. He's played in the league for a while. He was with Seattle for a bit. It's kind of been up and down throughout his career. He was kind of the lone steady lineman for Cleveland. He got hurt late in the year, missed the last few games, but I thought for a group that struggled, he was actually pretty solid. And then you've got Cade Mays with the Carolina Panthers, who had an okay year. I'm not really sure what his market is. This is probably a true like bridge option, like $4, $5, $6 million, 1-2 year deal at most. Come in, hold it down for a year, and then maybe you draft a guy and hand it off to him or a guy like Luke Newman in 2027. But only had 2 penalties, 0 sacks allowed this past year. So held his own overall. Then you got some other free agents. So Lloyd Cushenberry, who signed a huge deal with the Titans a couple of years ago, got cut. So like Biadasz, he could sign immediately. Did not play well in Tennessee. I don't know if that was a scheme issue or injury related or what, but you could kick the tires on that, maybe bring him in for a workout. Sean Ryan, who took over the starting center role for Green Bay after Elton Jenkins went down as their center this year and played. He was fine. He was solid. These are more like bridge gap options. Luke Fortner with the Saints, same deal. Andre James with the Chargers a few years back played really well with the Raiders, but he has not been the same guy the last couple of years. And then Graham Glasgow in Detroit, he got released. It sounds like he could retire. I think he said something like, barring the perfect situation, I'm probably retiring. So we'll see where that situation sits. But he was in Detroit for several years, so he would know the verbiage, know the system. I didn't think he was that great this year, though, so I don't love him as an option personally. Here's an interesting one. I just mentioned his name, Elton Jenkins, who is the versatile Packers lineman who's literally played all 5 positions at one point in the NFL, has played center some, was their starting center last year before suffering a fractured fibula and ankle injury, which he's rehabbing from. He dealt with that injury in November, so don't know the timetable there. That would certainly factor into this if you want to bring in a guy that's for sure going to be your starter for 2026. But if he's healthy, he could play center. He could play other positions if down the road he's still on the team and you get a different center. I've always liked his game. He hasn't played a ton at center though. So how do you feel with him with the protections, the pre-snap stuff? That's all something under consideration. But if he could play all 5 spots, I think the intelligence is pretty high. So I wonder if the Bears would kick the tires there and kind of see what his recovery situation is. Okay, then lastly, some guys in the draft. I think these are probably the top 5 centers in this year's draft. A couple other guys that you could take as well. Sam Hett with Kansas State, Connor Lew with Auburn, and then Jake Slaughter with Florida. Probably all day 2 guys. Second round on the early end, third round. Maybe one of them falls to the 4th round. Logan Jones, probably more like a 4th round guy. Pat Coogan, more like a 5th round guy. I think those 2 are more like, hey, if you sign Tyler Biadasz to a 1-year deal and then draft one of them, maybe they could take over in 2027. I don't know if you'd want them to start right away. I did see a couple of film guys break down some Logan Jones stuff, and I know producer Cullen has him as a draft crush. He moves pretty well, so I think he'd fit schematically. I just don't know if you'd want to hand him the keys right away as a rookie to pair with Caleb Williams in a critical 2026 season. So we'll see if any of these guys are options, but it does sound like the Bears want to go with a veteran, but they could double dip. They could go veteran, short-term deal, and then draft a guy to develop. So don't rule that out. Okay, if you had to predict it right now, who will be the Bears' Week 1 center? It's not going to be Drew Dalman unless there's a change of heart. So they're going to have to go get somebody free agency draft. Maybe there's a trade out there that I have not considered. But those are my Drew Dalman replacements. So let me know who you guys think will be the starter in Week 1. I like the idea of a McGovern or a Biadasz. I think it threads that needle of quality, good starter, but you're not having to completely break the bank to do it. So that is kind of the lane I would be driving in if I was the Bears, but we'll see if they go down Linderbaum alley and take a big swing there. Don't know how high his price is going to get, but we'll find out next Monday when free agency gets opened up. That's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys soon. Bear down.